Hi all, hope all is well with you. Today I will bring you the first part of Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is one continuous flow, but because of the number of pages, I need to separate it into two parts to keep the time of the video down. The complete chapter was at one point to be the end of my book and have kept it that way. I had no idea more would develop that was out of the ordinary, and I was anxious to complete what I had in place. This chapter summarizes my observations into my own interpretations or theories. They are based on my own thoughts with no other influences. For this half chapter, I have chosen the song Walk a Mile in My Shoes by Joe South. I hope you enjoy it. So far, I have provided through my observations some detail of what I'm encountering and how it has been presented. I have also tried to correlate these encounters to all my senses, including intuition. There have been times that I have commented with my own opinion. Now I would like to look at the past 5 years and try to bring together my overviews with thoughts, hypotheses, and opinions from all those observations that have come from my own experiences. When the occurrences first started happening, I was scared out of my wits just trying to comprehend the whole situation. There were no answers and nowhere to turn. I felt isolated and trapped within my own being. There was no way to escape, nowhere to hide, and no one to help. I have to give myself kudos for getting through it. My breaking point was no doubt after seeing my sister and convincing myself that there was no harm intended. Acceptance also has a lot to do with my personality. I'm not a screamer. My first approach is to analyze the situation before I would even consider screaming. I have never screamed in all my years, so we can just lose this word. I was shocked, and it was definitely an eye-opening experience. At first I thought, am I dreaming? But at the same time, I knew it was not a dream as I am fully conscious and alert. I did try to reach out for help, such as Mark J., who is a medium, and my minister for spiritual input, but there was no answers. At the very least, I had a good friend who listened. Just talking about it was a way of releasing my built-up fear. Over time, that fear decreased as my curiosity increased. Now I see it as fascinating with a trace of fear. There's always that first introduction that carries the fear. In a brief split second upon recognizing what I'm encountering and reassuring myself that there is no threat, then I search for anything I can analyze for comparison to other events. Something that is common or uncommon. At first introduction, I view and instantly recognize the presence. I usually look at the subject without moving my head, only my eyes, and wait to see what action needs to be taken or what is going to happen next. They are usually looking at me, but this is not always the case. There have been some that I have viewed them that are not aware they are being watched. The old lady that looks like Ma off the Golden Girls is one example. Or the guy with the hunchback wearing the plaid jacket that was looking into my jewelry box was another. There was an entity that was viewing two round needlepoint pictures on the wall beside my bed. Just observing this lets me know they see me or other objects. Probably they see the same as I see around me. I do know when I don't see them, they can still see each other, such as my sister and the cat jumping off the bed. That was a situation where both were around at the same time and they both acknowledged each other. Most have no idea that I'm aware of their presence. I guess when you think of it, and in their position, they're not used to living people acknowledging their presence, so it is probably a shock for me to speak out. It is probably confusing for them as well. Did she just acknowledge me? That, I believe, in the case of the old lady who came back to visit me at my home. When I said out loud, I see you, she was startled and moved. She also came back not too long after this in a different place. I did scare her. I also scared the old man that was leaning in towards me, which I expect was to see who I was or to get a closer look. He appeared cautious at first, but when I said, "Oh, you scared me," he jumped back in the same state of fright. I actually found this a bit humorous, as here I am scaring a real ghost. Both these situations tell me a lot, that the spirit that do visit are aware of my presence, but not all are aware that I can see them also. Again, if they were to visit me during the day or at a time that is not waking me up, I have not been able to acknowledge them. I guess for them it would be puzzling to figure out if I can or can't see them. For me, I visually can, but only if I'm awakened by them. And I can prove that wrong later on. There have been a lot of change in my attitude towards the occurrences since the beginning. A few years back, when it first started to happening, my first reaction was to just observe quietly and wait to see if the figure would dissipate. It was like having a stranger intruding upon my space. After it dissolved, I questioned what I just saw, knowing it is totally out of the ordinary. It actually made me question my own mental health. I also did not want to deal with the situations and found myself viewing the subject and then turning away to avoid it. As I would turn away, I would verbally say out loud, "No." I occasionally still find myself saying no, but the last experience that I had with my sister, where I said no, was the first time I convinced myself to accept. On those few occasions that I do say no, it has been very close to my head. I also recall being woke up in the past days before this all came into the open, saying no. I would wake from my sleep after being startled, saying no. I suspect that maybe there is more to the story than just a few years ago, that it might be possible that this has been going on way before this time only. I have never recognized it like it is today. I didn't view or open my eyes. I had no reason to. Now my reaction is to say, "You scared me," or "I see you." This I convince myself to do in case I do encounter my sister, and I guess pushing the situation further now that I'm more comfortable. Once, when I said, "I see you," the person turned in my direction as if looking at me. It was a weird occurrence. I do know that they see just as I see. They also hear, but I don't hear from them. It was not too long after things started happening in the house at the ski hill that I woke that I that I woke facing the window and saw a group of three people in conversation. The one I can see facing me was a male. The other two were facing him. I was kind of looking down towards the three. The one male facing the others was talking to them. My focus during the whole situation was totally towards the one male talking. I could not hear him talking, but could see him to know that it was what he was doing. The whole situation was like looking inwards of a picture frame. There was not a group of dark shadows appearing in my room, but a picture looking occurrence in a group. I spoke up and said, "I see you." The male facing me continued speaking towards the others, as if to finish his conversation. Then he slowly turned and focused on me, as if thinking, "Did you just say something?" Then the picture fades instantly out of view. The male had a very distinctive presence about him and was tall and slender build. I could not see below his waist. I can only wonder what he did see when he looked at me. This male, in my opinion, acknowledged my words. I also noticed that for me, this was a very calm event, possibly because it was a different situation in that it was not a shadow in my room, but a glimpse of a group participation. Since this one time, I thought I would take another step to start initiating communication to see where it would take me. Another time I said, "I see you." It was a male turned away from me. I said, "I see you. You have an orange shirt on." I have no idea who would wear an orange shirt, but that is what I said after seeing him. Once I began to accept the situation, I started to turn it around from being scared to trying to take something out of it, to treat it like an experiment and make notes of the observations in hopes of trying to find answers to some of the questions and to try and find more facts. At times I just at times I'm just not totally alert, but I do try to observe what I'm looking at, even if it is only a brief occurrence. My reaction to a visit of the unknown can express anything from fear, such as the wolf, by being totally startled and jumping out of my own skin, or being calm, such as waking and not moving a muscle but watching, as I did with the spirit looking in the jewelry box, or saying, "No," and I come out of the sleep. As stated, my first reaction will depend on what is being encountered. I have also noticed that the further away they are from me and the more relaxed I am, relaxed might not be the good choice of a word, calmer might fit better. I'm still on high alert and still take that split second to assess the situation, but in a more relaxed state when I see them further away. Maybe it's the distance and giving myself a bit of space to react that gives me this calmer feeling. But it definitely comes across as a threat when so close. I don't know why they come so close. Maybe it's to get my attention. My cat was very close, but I recognized him right away. My sister comes very close also. I find that she knows I'm sleeping in my bed and tries to wake me. I have found her twice in pretty much the same situation where she is on her knees facing the headboard of the bed. I believe in both situations she was trying to shake the bed to wake me up or get my attention. Whatever, both times I did come to see her. I said very calmly, "Sandy, is that you?" When I look back at the times I've acknowledged Sandy, I can see that all those times she is trying to either see if I'm sleeping or trying to wake me up. Even when I look back to those times when I was woken in the morning by the feeling that someone was lifting my arm, it brought me out of my sleep. It got my attention. I now know when those times did happen to me, I was not dreaming. It was my sister trying to wake me up. I have spoken to her staring at me as her head was facing towards me just above the mattress. This was in the house at the ski hill. I could make out her eyes as they appeared a darker shade to the rest of her shadow image. It is the size of the shadow and outline that I believe is her. Some of those times are more identifiable when her hair shows. One other time was seeing her lean over towards me on a tilt with her hair forward, knowing she was in a position that she was looking into my face. Again, it was looking to see my face and to see if I was awake. Then there are the visitors that keep their distance but are directly facing me, and I know they are looking directly at me. In January of 2015, I sat up in bed just like an automatic reflex, without opening my eyes and blurting out the words, "What are you doing?" That is how automatic my instincts are to having something around me. In this case, I was surprised to see that it was my son, and I'm talking about my son that lived with me, trying to sneak into the bathroom to get the Tums. He didn't want to wake me. What this did tell me is that I'm really in tune and alert to reacting to someone in my room. It was a nice, unexpected observation, and I was glad it did happen. Those words also came out of my mouth as I'm coming out of my sleep and sitting up. All happened at once. Then I look from their perspective and see that they are also on alert and react to me. The old lady I call Ma is a good example. When she was when she when she was started when she oh geez when she was startled, she moved back but stayed within view. There have been others that have also showed an expression of fear or being startled and moved away. So I wonder if those that are close to me intentionally are trying to get a reaction from me. Those that keep their distance are being cautious, and those that are curious and coming close are on alert. All that I have noticed about all that I have noticed about myself have also been observed from them. My reaction to their presence is the same reaction they have to me. They are also on alert when they come in contact with me and when they are suddenly in a situation where they are acknowledging that they also have the same approach, caution. I've said the same before, and again I have to reinstate part of the reason for what I'm seeing. Since April 2010, when I claimed things started to evolve frequently, was mainly due to learning how to pull myself from my sleep and open my eyes to see what I'm being alerted to. Have you ever tried to pull yourself from sleep? I'm talking about a deep sleep. When you start to come out of it, you kind of flutter your eyes, but it is very hard to wake up. Example would be you're sleeping in a deep sleep when you hear someone going to the bathroom, perhaps your brother or sister. Sometimes you would not even pay attention to this and would not wake up at all. But if something was dropped and you pulled yourself out of a sleep just to the recognition of the sound, you might not even open your eyes, only acknowledge the sound. This is the same replication as I've done to come out of my sleep. You know something is pulling you out, or have this awareness to something around, but not for any reason, and then you visually see something. It is my sensitivity or awareness to my surroundings. This is the way it is for me, but it is taken even further than this. It is now automatic, from the sensitivity of my surrounding to total alert, from that first awareness to visually seeing something to different encounters. I say that I cannot hear those that visit, but there have been attempts. Typically, I would quietly just stare without saying a word, but now I do try and say something. The time is very brief from when I acknowledge their presence to their dissipating. So I do quickly recognize the situation and in an instant decide whether I should open up and say something. What I have definitely noticed is that when I do stir or say something, they are fully aware of my presence and my gestures. When I saw the male with the rope hood over his head and full color human appearing in the tube, I thought to myself, is this person from life, from another life, or is he in the same dimension but a different place? I thought that I would try something to see if I could communicate differently. I wrote in pen on 2 pieces of white tape my name and what year it was. I stuck this on my face. I wore it there for about 5 nights, then gave up. After this time, I did see a woman holding a sign with writing on it and could tell her mouth was moving. I could not see the writing on the sign as it was too small and she was too far away, and there was no sound from her mouth. I have also since seen on occasion their mouths moving knowing they are talking, but I cannot hear words. I'm not sure if I have prompted the chat or this would have eventually happened regardless. I do recall seeing this one tall, thin woman with long blonde hair one night, and the next night she reappeared with her hands flopping and her mouth moving. She obviously had something to say, but I could not hear a word. Each encounter is unique, and I personally try to take something out of it. It's usually what stands out the most from first glance. There are also times when I encounter different occurrences, but they become insignificant and are not mentioned. An example of this would be when I saw a person in clear view looking at me, but because I'm not able to relate to this person, it goes by with a description of viewing a male face. There is no need to describe his features, but I do keep a mental note of what I'm seeing, so if he should return, then I might be able to identify him as a repeat. One of the questions I ask myself is, will this end or will it continue? I really don't know. I do know that it has happened in the past, and for over 5 years, it continues to happen on an ongoing basis. So I do believe that this will continue. It is now part of my being. What I have noticed over this amount of time is that I'm personally becoming less in tune to my sensitivity and do have some hypothesis as to why it is changing. For starters, what I do see happening is that my attitude is becoming more relaxed about the whole ordeal, so much so that it is becoming second nature to me, and I'm no longer on the alert. I have noticed that over time I am becoming less attentive as compared to the beginning. For me, this is understandable. In the beginning, I was on high alert. Now I'm getting more comfortable with the situation. My alertness is becoming less because I'm more tolerant of the situation. I'm becoming more comfortable with the visits over time, and I don't feel threatened by their presence. Not only this, but it is a visual, and I have yet to hear any words. If things were to change and these apparitions started to communicate verbally, then it might change the situation. Their presence is now becoming comfortable, and the fear is now fascinating in a comfortable way. The feel of a threat is diminishing to almost non existent. I'm still on alert, but not like I was in the beginning. I've also noticed my sleep patterns have a definite effect. There are many times when I fall asleep very quickly and into a deep sleep that nothing is going to wake me. On the contrary, I have been in a deep sleep and unconsciously wake briefly just to acknowledge a presence. Sleep patterns and even having a head cold or not feeling up to par impacts, or at least I am convinced through observation that this affects my senses, and in turn, there might be less frequency from these visitors. There are times when my senses are very keen or at a peak of alertness. Then there is the question, why me? Why is this happening to me? I have already touched on answering this question. We all have different character traits, and this must be a part of me, a spiritual part. I'm not alone in my experiences. There are others that have encountered similar situations or spirits or unexplained occurrences. I guess the real question from this, or the common thread, is what are we all describing? We seem to all feel we are dealing with afterlife. Is this what it really is? I really don't know, but I'm also open to both spiritual and scientific explanations. I really would like to know what I'm experiencing. I do believe that I encounter and continue to encounter. I do believe what I encounter and continue to encounter is related to death and life after death. How can I be so sure? Proof for me has been the encounters with those I'm familiar with. My sister, my dad, and my cat. All have connected with me, and my sister continues to do so successfully after her death. The others, I believe, are in the same category. They're not part of my past, or some may possibly be part of my past, but I don't recognize them, not only because of visual, but also the form that they appear and the quickness or time they dissipate. They are all visitors to me. The spirit is kind of like an invisible person that comes and goes, but are around. And for me, when they visit and wake me, I'm able to visually see them. Why do they come to me? I'm special? Yeah, I put in brackets, just had to say that. I suspect that spirits visit all of us. I think that they come and go and are always in our lives. They are connected to our lives. We also connect each other's spirits with those that are connected to us. In other words, a person that I'm in contact with in real life might introduce a spirit that is around them. To me, thus making a connection through my acquaintances. I don't know who they are, but they have connections to the places I visited or people who have visited my home. An example that comes to mind is that of the two young people that appeared when my son was entertaining some young kids his age. That night I saw two different spirits. Both were young. I would say in their late teens. The first was the young girl that appeared more than once, and the other was the young male with the hockey equipment on and stick in his hand. I don't know who they are, but I suspect they are connected to the young group of kids visiting my son. I suspect that we all attract spirits, but we do not all possess the awareness or proof of this. I think that those spirits that visit us are connected through us, such as being in our family or friends or closely related and visit us on a regular basis. I have also noticed that not only are spirits connected to people, but possibly to items, such as me touching the imprinted paw mark of a wolf and having a wolf spirit visit me, or the young girl looking at the two needlepoint pictures, or an old man looking in my jewelry box. I have no explanation as to why the spirits come to visit me. Sometimes I think to myself, what am I to these spirits? Why do they come to visit me? Do I light up? Am I a beacon? Do I send out a signal? What is attracting them to me? Or is this the way it is with everyone? Only I'm able to see them. I do believe that it must be strongest during the night while I'm sleeping. I have sensed a presence before during the day, so I do believe they are around during the day. For me, I'm mostly aware while woken during the first hour or two after I fall asleep. It doesn't mean that the rest of the time, except this highlighted time, is off bounds. It does appear that this is the strongest form of time of connecting. So what makes this time so important? I suspect the reasons or hypotheses can be numerous or even endless, knowing that I'm dealing with the unknown. Maybe it's their time that I'm subjected to, as opposed to relating it to my time, referring to my time as being in the dark or around midnight. I have seen two occurrences that appeared to move away from the light that was being turned on, and the other was hearing the sound of someone approaching, which I put in brackets, which was my son going to the bathroom. My door is open slightly and I can see the light through it. Both these occurrences I associated with being seen or caught in the light. It might very well be that they don't want to be seen or caught in the light, so they visit when we are asleep or can't be seen. Why? I have no idea, but maybe my interpretation of these situations is wrong. I can only relate when I'm seeing to observations and trying to relate those observations to the situation. It's one thing to acknowledge the presence and how they appear, but actually trying to identify a reason to their actions is completely different. How is it that I'm aware of their presence? Do the spirits communicate with their mind? This I do believe. But why are some people open or susceptible to spirits and others are not? Do we all have a spirit? Is it is it the is it the spirits that are communicating with each other and we, the human, are intercepting the spirits communicating? My thoughts are endless and open. I'm sure there are common threads to each occurrence from all of us who have experienced an occurrence. I also believe there are many more common threads to those of us who are experiencing this phenomenon. Would it not be interesting to gather statistics on those of us that have encountered to see what the numbers are? I would say in today's environment that there are more people who acknowledge that spirits do exist than those who do not. I would also say that there is only a small minority who would not even acknowledge the topic of spirits. It is practically a worldwide known subject, whether you believe it or not. It is the job of those that have experienced encounters to share those experiences. I'll probably never know the reason why me, whether it is a physical, mental/mind, environmental, emotional, or spiritual reason is open. How would you even attempt researching these points with a subject that might never be conclusive? I have witnessed spirits that I can identify. I have witnessed spirits that I can associate or link to identify. I have witnessed many more encounters that I cannot identify or associate to, but they do come to visit me. I've also referred to those that I see as a visit. I've always referred to those that I see as a visitor. To me, that is just what it is, a visit, like someone stopping in for a visit. And that ends the first part of the chapter 8. So stay tuned to the next part for next week and take care, and we'll all see you soon. Bye for